Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I'm going to do one of my deep dives here where I look into all things Raid Shadow Legends. And I hear this a lot. I see it in comments. Raid's dying. Raid's time is over. I see things like, wow, Diablo's come out. Raid have had to drop a particular champion because they were going under. Or, you know, Tower of Fantasy's just come out. Maybe Raid have kind of seen the end in sight. Or I see really things like, damn, this new fusion is crap. Raid have lost the plot. Now they're just looking for a cash cow to make us spend more money in this final couple of months. Honestly, it's funny to see because I look at a lot of analytics all the time. Yeah, and that's what we're going to go through today. Some analytics that I look at. You know, for me, this is a business now. I've got hellhades.com as a website. Obviously, we've got things like the optimizer and stuff like that as well. I've got my channel. I've got my stream, so I'm going to be back to streaming. And, you know, for me, it's like I need to make sure that I'm back in a game which has got a future. Yeah, I still play the game. I still enjoy the game. But ultimately, I've also got not just my income and my livelihood at risk here. I've also got 5 full-time employees at hellhades.com, me and Fix. And then we've got a number of part-time people as well. So, you know, we're basically responsible, me and Fiction, for a number of people, their kind of day-to-day income. And, you know, there's a little bit of responsibility that comes alongside that. So we have to make sure that we're all over our numbers, and we are. So let's start with looking at some different kind of visuals in terms of stuff that I look at on a day-to-day. Not a day-to-day, maybe like a week or fortnightly basis. And I think we'll start this time a little bit unusual, but we're going to start with hellhades.com. And we're going to go on to then look at things like Raid specific performance. So not just my website, but Raid performance. And then we're going to look at some of the YouTubers who cover Raid and see how they're doing. So this is some analytics which we pull out of hellhades.com. I'm going to show you 3 different visuals here. This is event count or site activity. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just plotted a couple of kind of like trend lines. Yeah, and I've also got a top and a bottom in terms of like the trench that we're working in. Yeah, so, you know, we've also got worst case up to best case, and then a couple of trend lines that I've just kind of filtered in. Now you can see that up until the war broke out in Ukraine, we were actually trending at a really positive position. Okay, and, you know, we've got 60 million event counts over the course of this period of time, over basically a year, which is insane, by the way. You know, if you think about websites, that's 60 million different actions that are going on. And on average, you know, nearly 20 events per user. That's a really high number. So obviously people that play this game and look for information try and delve quite deep. Yeah, which means actually they're properly engaged in the game. The people that are doing this type of thing are properly looking for ways to improve what they're doing. They're not just kind of going on and looking for the promo code, or, you know, they're looking for builds, they're looking for help. So, and hopefully hellhades.com delivers that really well. The numbers here suggest that it does. So we were trending up really well. The war hit, and you see this massive dip, yeah, into our kind of lowest activity for a long time. And then since then, massive credit to Raid. They've actually, you know, bearing in mind the team were stranded, were moving countries, were pretty much, you know, uncontactable for large periods of time. They managed to pull off some really big events and activities to keep people interested in their game with really what was a skeleton staff. Yeah, so you can see this kind of like massive peak here. I think this might have been Helicaf, potentially, or maybe Deliana. Could be Deliana, I'm not sure. Anyway, something like Deliana, Helicaf, and then Walking Tomb Dreng, I think. And then you can see we've just kind of been like working our way up in terms of events since then. So you can just kind of see, like, in terms of trend line, we're back now where we were pretty much before the war came through. So that, and we've had more highs than we had previously, which is positive to see. And if I look at number of users, similar type of thing really, but user count was growing steadily up until the war hit, and then we kind of dipped, and then we're growing again now. Actually, we're in about the same position as when the war hit back in February. And you can see we've had a couple of real peak months. Actually, we had quite a peak month here because we had some Diablo content on the site, and we got users that we wouldn't normally see on the site coming in as well. So, you know, with the website, we're able to diversify to other games if we feel like it's the right thing to do. And then we'll choose kind of how much content we will put out there. But because the website is a top 20,000 website in the world in terms of activity, Google actually really likes what we do. So if we put out some content on another game, even if it's quite short-lived, we can actually rate really well in Google for that type of stuff. So user count is now kind of back to where it was. And then the last one we're going to look at here is just new users to the site. And again, you can see actually since January 1st, since the website opened 2020, I think that is, or 2021, you can basically just see we've had a steady overall increase in new users using the site on a kind of month-to-month basis. So that would suggest that either the website is growing in traction and more people are using it, or it would suggest that Raid are still doing really well. Okay, and I would argue it's going to be the latter. But let's have a look at some stats. Let's find out for sure. So I use this website here, Sensor Tower, to do a lot of my research. I literally look at it every month and I see how Raid is performing. I see how Raid is performing in terms of their revenue, in terms of their downloads, in terms of how they're performing in their kind of genre, their category versus other games. And I also look to see other games that are coming through that might be interesting to kind of show you or talk to you about. So here we go, Raid and we kind of get this broken down here by Android and by Apple. Yeah, so we've got two different tabs that I look at for the same game. So Raid in the month of July, so we're looking 1 month previous, it's had combined 800,000 new downloads. That does not include downloads directly through Plarium Play. That's like additional. And I would argue, I don't know the stats on it because I can't see it, but I would argue that it's probably about another at least 30% on what we see here. I think they're probably mobile centric in terms of more new downloads, but I'd imagine it's something around 30% of their users would be coming through Plarium Play. If anyone knows that, by the way, please comment below and share with me where you found that information, but that's what I think. So you've got 8 million on, and this is just in the month of July. They made 8 million in Apple. They made 11 million through Android. So if you were running a business which was scoring a cool 19 million a month, do you think that you'd be looking for an exit plan? That's the first question. Tell you what, I wouldn't be looking for an exit plan. I know that they plow in about a third of their revenue back into marketing. That's how they're able to actually continuously grab a lot of new players. That's why they're so aggressive in their marketing, because they've just got now a really big revenue drive which constantly goes back into the business. Now, look, we could ask the question of morality around, all of this cash coming in. Should they still, charge what they charge for packs? Should they be as kind of greedy as they are? Is the free-to-play community getting what they should get? All of that type of stuff. And I think actually they have got a lot of free-to-play players. I see it a lot on my channel, and they enjoy the game in their own right. And I actually look. I have to say, it pains me to say it, but it's a crazy good business model. It's a crazy good business model. Like, there's a lot of people that try and compete with them. They can't because their games are not as good as Raid. And because Raid don't have a good enough competition yet, they don't really have a kind of need to change their price structure around. Yeah, they're throwing more stuff in, if anything. Things like skins now, that's all just additional revenue that they didn't get before. But yeah, in terms of what they do it well. They do it well, and that's why they drive big cash. Yeah. If we look at their rankings then in the kind of sector of role-playing games, yeah, that's what they kind of filter as in terms of how all of these different Play stores rank them, yeah? So Raid has consistently been a kind of top 5 game in role-playing forever. That, in terms of whenever I've watched this or looked at this, they've always been a top 5. Okay, and we're going to look at ratings for today, by the way. I'm just going to add one more in here for this time period. Diablo Immortal. Yeah, so Diablo was kind of like punching top 2 for the majority of last month. Okay, so that gives you an idea. And Raid has been first, for the majority of the time that I've ever looked at this. And sometimes they've kind of dipped down as low as 5th. That's the lowest that I've seen them drop. A couple other games that I've thrown up here. Summoner's War is right down here. Summoner's War is like a, I don't know, maybe like 12-year-old game, but an equivalent of Raid. So it kind of shows how much life a game like this can have, I guess, because, 12 years on, they're still punching in a reasonable position here. Dislight is one of the newer games that's come through, which is doing pretty well, and they're sitting in like, 70-odd spot there. And Marvel Future, which was another one which was kind of deemed to be strong, is sitting in 69th. So, in terms of role-playing games, and that's for the free charts, yeah, this is a good performance. If we then say how much money are they making compared to their competitors with the same type of info, you actually see Raid is first all the way along, which is actually nuts, with Diablo coming in second. So that, to me, is crazy, actually. It's totally crazy. Now, Diablo will be making a lot of their money through PC sales, yeah? And Raid do as well, to be fair. Raid make a lot through player in play. Diablo, I think, more so will be making their money through PC, probably more than mobile, I would think. One of the other charts I just kind of like to have a little look at, this is just for Android. So where do Raid sit in terms of overall Google Play Store? Yeah, in terms of their performance. You've got free download over here. You've got paid to download here, which they will never be in because you don't pay to download Raid. And you've got top grossing games over here, or top grossing apps. I don't actually know what Google one is, but they're top. But you've got Candy Crush. Like, Candy Crush as a game kills it. Like, how does that game make so much money? It's such a basic game. It's unbelievable. The amount of players they've got that continue to play day to day, working their way through this kind of crazy game. Like, I don't get it. I played it personally for a while myself, like, commuting to London and stuff, but they continue to kill it month after month. If we go down a bit further, you've got Clash of Clans here, still doing well, top 10 overall. And we see Raid, but overall, Play Store, Google Play Store, 17th on the overall top grossing. Yeah, there's not really many games above them. Pokemon Go is there, Township, Royal Match. I've not even heard of some of these games. Clash of Clans. So, in terms of overall, Raid are actually doing insanely well. Yeah, insanely well. And then if we look at them in their genre, again, you kind of see top grossing, first, second, other strong games, Marvel Strike Force, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, Dislight. Still got games like AFK Arena up here. There's actually a game which is being downloaded a lot, which I did a promo on not long ago, Bloodline Heroes of Lethas. And it's coming in currently as 13th. It's actually got a lot of similarities to Raid, but perhaps a few new kind of tweaks to it. And that's one I'm going to kind of keep an eye on, because it feels like if they market it well, it could be up there as a reasonable kind of contender in this space. But yeah, in terms of Raid and how they would feel about their business and their model, obviously I don't see all of their KPIs, but for me, it looks like a lot of big fat ticks for them to keep working on the game, keep developing it, and keep trying to pull new players in, because ultimately what they're doing is actually working really well. I wonder how much bigger the kind of drafts and stuff that we looked at earlier would be if they didn't have, the war that hit them right in the middle of this year. I think they would have just kept going on that upward scale. So ridiculous, really. And let's look at some stats. So I'll look at my YouTube channel first. If you go to socialblade.com, you can literally go to any YouTuber's channel and look and just have a look at how they perform, how their stats are doing. It actually shows quite interesting stuff here. It's not all 100% accurate, but it kind of shows you, what's their ranking against their country. So I'm ranked 1,183rd in my country as a YouTuber. Pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And you can see all of the other stuff here as well. You can see like weekly views, subscribers, that type of stuff. But this is what I tend to look at. So if you scroll down a bit further, you look at the monthly video views. Yeah, this is the one that's most important to me. Do I feel like I continue to gain traction? Am I still in growth? Have I started to plateau? that type of thing. So you can actually see I had a weak month in April. And some of that was kind of like spillover. Basically, this is the point where the war broke out, and this is the point where I felt it the most. So you can just kind of see how I was in a strong position, and then all of a sudden, I was just kind of like, wow, like almost like 25% of my views disappeared within 20 odd days, which was scary as hell. I've got to say, it was really scary because I didn't know if that was just going to completely drop down, but we have had a kind of bounce back. And, even with me taking some time on holiday and stuff, which means that I obviously put out less videos, it's still in a healthy position. So it probably feels like, or I feel like I may be getting to a slight plateau here, but that's still to be defined, because you can see I like to look way more further back, and you can just kind of see sometimes in growth, you actually do this slowly but surely, continuing up, but it's not like a steady, no one grows straight up all the time. It's just not feasible. So it could just be that we're just on a bit of a kind of meandering path upwards still. And, even if it was a plateau at this point, damn, I'm really pleased. So yeah, it feels like in terms of my YouTube channel, it's doing strong. I've got Ash's view here as well. So Ash has been kind of up there as like the second largest channel for a long time. And obviously most of you know him and his content. He does great stuff. And you can see, I don't know what happened really here, but absolutely he ramped up his view count in May 20. And then since then, he's kind of had a kind of really kind of steady growth as well. Had the same kind of issue around dip, but continues to do really well. So yeah, Ash is looking strong. Scratch, I'm just pulling out, these aren't like, oh, you must go and watch these, by the way. I'm just pulling out some names which I know are big in the community. Scratch, really good growth line here on his kind of trajectory over the last, 18 months or so. So I'm sure he'll be delighted with that, especially as he's been doing some Diablo content as well as this. I wonder what point he went full-time. It might have been around here that he went full-time. Not sure. But anyway, you can just kind of see that his channel's been steadily growing. Nub Raids, who I'd say is probably by a long way the biggest up-and-comer of this year. Really love his stuff. He does great content. And you can just kind of see this explosive growth here. He's grown like to 3 times the views that he was getting in February, now in August. So that's some solid stuff. This was an interesting one for me. Like the HH Gaming team, Fiction and Saf have been putting out way more regular videos in the last few months. And you can kind of see, basically, they had a spike here around, there's some really popular videos around New World, actually, which kind of created this spike. But you can see the raid content now is starting to grow as well, and the subscriber count is as well. So, look, in summary, is raid struggling? Is it dying? Is that why we're seeing worse fusions or whatever? I honestly think there's not a chance in hell that it is. Everything that I see points to really successful, continuing to be top of the tree, and continuing to attract new users. All of that is strong for the game. Just sometimes they're going to put out crap fusions. And I honestly think it's mainly because the people that build the champions, they probably don't really get it sometimes. They think they're doing something quite cool. And then it's not until they probably see some people coming back like me saying, I don't understand where you would use this, that they might just be like, oh, damn, he's right. But it's too late. So look, I feel like, I mean, I hope Raid continues to be successful. I love the game. I love doing content on it. And yeah, hopefully for you guys, this was an interesting video, something slightly different to what I normally do. But yeah, this is the deep dive that I do every couple of weeks. Anyway, I've been Hell Hades. I will see you later.